Coming up today, President Park Geun-hye condemns North Korea's plans for a long-range rocket launch. She says stronger sanctions are required to stop Pyongyang going ahead with another grave provocation. China's nuclear envoy returns from North Korea. It's thought he's back in Beijing with no guarantee Pyongyang will pull the plug on its rocket launch. Plus, ending a bitter standoff that has lasted months, South Korea's National Assembly passes a bill designed to revitalize the economy. Next up is a bill to redraw Korea's electoral map. Stay tuned for these stories and more.
Hello to our viewers around the world. It's 6 a.m. on Friday, February 5th here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Broom. Our top story this morning. In some of her strongest words yet on North Korea, President Park Geun-hye has slammed Pyongyang over its plans to launch a rocket this month. She says much stronger sanctions need to be applied on the regime. North Korea claims it is merely putting an Earth observation satellite into orbit, but the rest of the world knows it's cover for a ballistic missile test. Song Ji-sun with the details.
President Park has stepped up the pressure on North Korea to urge the regime to give up its planned rocket launch. In a statement delivered via her senior press secretary on Thursday, the president condemned the regime and called for stronger sanctions against Pyongyang.
North Korea's announcement of a long-range rocket launch following its latest nuclear test is a serious threat to peace on the Korean peninsula and in the world. Planning another provocation while additional UN sanctions are being discussed means that Pyongyang is not afraid of sanctions and shows that it is only focused on maintaining the current regime without any desire to establish peace on the Korean peninsula.
The statement follows another one made Wednesday after a National Security Council meeting, where the South urged the North to scrap the launch plan. North Korea on Tuesday announced it would launch an Earth observation satellite atop a rocket sometime over the next 3 weeks. The launch is seen by South Korea and its allies as a cover for a test of an intercontinental ballistic missile, and that would be a violation of UN resolutions barring the North from developing ballistic missile technologies. President Park also called for closer cooperation with the international community for stronger UN sanctions on North Korea, saying that it's the only way to convince Pyongyang that it would not be able to survive unless it gives its nuclear ambitions. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
Now, South Korea says it will shoot down any debris that falls on its territory from that rocket North Korea plans to launch in the coming days or weeks. The Defense Ministry confirmed on Thursday as well that it has detected launch preparations by Pyongyang. Kim Hyun-bin reports.
South Korea's defense ministry confirmed Thursday there have been signs of long-range missile launch preparations at the site, adding it's keeping a close eye on any unusual activities.
Seoul and Washington are working in close cooperation to detect any missile launch activity. And if Pyongyang launches a rocket, we are fully prepared to not only detect it, but also track down its trajectory.
The ministry added that Seoul and Washington are working in close cooperation to detect any missile launch activity, and reassured that if Pyongyang launches a rocket, the two allies are fully prepared to not only detect it, but also track down its trajectory. Earlier in the day, North Korea monitoring website 38 North released satellite imagery indicating that Pyongyang may be in the early stages of preparation for a long-distance missile launch. The website stated that more vehicles have been seen around the Dongchangni launch site, especially at the horizontal processing building, where the various stages of a rocket are received. The South Korean military has boosted surveillance capabilities by mobilizing an additional Aegis destroyer, which is capable of detecting missiles from 1,000 kilometers away. It has also deployed the Green Pine ground radar, as well as airborne surveillance equipment that includes peace-side planes. Vice Defense Minister of South Korea, the U.S., and Japan will hold a video conference to discuss collective measures against the anticipated launch. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
Now, China's top nuclear envoy Wu Dawei has returned to Beijing from a surprise visit to North Korea. He apparently met his counterpart in the north, but little is known about what they actually discussed. Kwon So-ah reports.
China's top man in charge of Korean affairs and nuclear matters, Woo Da-wei, returned from his 3-day trip to North Korea on Thursday, but without clear results. Following his arrival, China's foreign ministry said Woo held talks with his North Korean counterpart Lee Yong-ho, Pyongyang's foreign minister Lee Soo-yong, and deputy foreign minister Kim Ge-kwan. All the ministry spokesperson could reveal on details of their discussion was:
There were two aspects. One was bilateral relations between China and North Korea, including all kinds of issues in China and North Korean relations. The second also was, of course, things related to the current situation on the Korean Peninsula.
Seoul's Foreign Affairs Ministry did not comment on what could have been discussed, but said it's in talks with Beijing.
I emphasize that North Korea and China are closely communicating on the result of Woo Da-wei's North Korea trip.
The Chinese representative for the six-party nuclear talks embarked on the surprise trip on Tuesday amid international discussions on how to deal with North Korea for its latest nuclear test, as well as its potential rocket launch planned for later this month. The degree of sanctions are thought to have been part of discussions, but some say stopping Pyongyang from its satellite launch, what many may have been hoping for, was not Woo Da-wei's priority.
The North's public announcement of its launch shows a resolute drive, behind which there's the decision of its leader Kim Jong-un himself. Given Woo Da-wei's status, it wouldn't have been easy for him to execute any pressure on North Korea.
Woo told reporters upon arrival in Beijing that he said what must be said, did what must be done, but at the same time does not know what the outcome will be. Experts speculate that this could mean the Chinese diplomat returned home empty-handed. Kwon So-ah, Arirang News.
Now, lawmakers passed dozens of bills on Thursday, including one aimed at revitalizing businesses. The Assembly Speaker also set the deadline for the passage of a bill that will redistrict Korea's electoral map ahead of the general election that is set for mid-April. Ji Myung-gil has the details.
With just over 2 months left before the April 13th general election, National Assembly Speaker Chung Yu-ah has set a deadline for a bill on redrawing Korea's electoral map. The main opposition Minju Party, which has been pushing for the bill, welcomed the decision.
The Speaker has promised to send the electoral map bill to the National Election Commission on February 12th, no matter what. Therefore, the bill will definitely get passed by the end of the month.
After the election watchdog reviews the plan, Chung will introduce the bill on February 19th for lawmakers to vote on. The rival parties agree on increasing the number of electoral districts from 246 to 253. But the bill had been stalled because of disagreements over the number of proportional representatives. The ruling party had wanted to reduce the number to 47 from 54, while the opposition didn't want any change. On Thursday, the opposition capitulated, allowing the bill to move forward. However, the ruling Saenuri Party, in a reversal of its previous position, now wants to tie the electoral map bill to other bills on the economy and labor reform.
We again urge the Minju Party to stop focusing only on the electoral map. What's more urgent is passing these important livelihood bills. We must pass them all at once as soon as possible.
Amid the ongoing negotiations on Thursday, lawmakers voted to pass 40 bills, including the One-Shot Act, designed to reduce legal restrictions on corporations and provide tax cuts for companies that want to sell an affiliate or buy another company. Lawmakers still have a slew of other bills to vote on before the current extraordinary session ends on Monday, including one on North Korea's human rights and another that would strengthen South Korea's counterterrorism initiatives. Ji Myung-gil, Arirang News.
Now, Korea's new trade minister met with the business leaders of the country's top 30 conglomerates on Thursday, the first meeting of its kind in 3 years. Both sides agreed to work together to counter Korea's slumping exports. Kim Min-ji has this report.
Korea's trade minister urged business leaders to step up investment to revive the country's slowing exports. Speaking during a meeting with the heads of Korea's top 30 conglomerates, Minister Ju Hyung-hwan noted how exports fell sharply in January, with outbound shipments tumbling 18.5%, the largest drop in more than 6 years. He stressed the importance of team play between the government and the business sector, saying deregulation efforts will be boosted as Korea needs to strengthen its key industries and diversify its industrial portfolio into high-value sectors.
The government will lift regulations or fix systems that hinder investment or business activity, so that efforts from the private sector can kick in quickly.
Business leaders in particular discussed some of the main hurdles they face when it comes to get involved in new technology sectors, such as the Internet of Things. The trade minister vowed to provide swift answers to corporate proposals and work to provide support, whether it be systematic or financial. While it's welcoming news that both the government and the business sector are willing to cooperate, experts say words must now turn into action.
There are things the government must do and things corporations must do. Corporations need to make high-quality products through consistent R&D to make way into new markets and boost exports, while the government needs to be able to support what they do, whether it is regarding procedures or the law.
The expert added that corporations need to have in mind how to revive their own competitiveness and work to continuously foster new growth engines. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Now, countries around the world have pledged more than $10 billion in aid for refugees affected by the civil war in Syria. 70 countries were represented at the London conference, including 30 world leaders. British Prime Minister David Cameron said the money would provide millions of people with life-saving food, medical care, shelter and education. Germany pledged $2.6 billion and the UK $1.7 billion. The United States will give almost $900 million. Now, South Korea's lead officer for government policy coordination, Lee Sok-jun, who attended the conference, said Seoul would provide $12 million. The South Korean government has donated some $23 million to Syria since 2012. An estimated 18 million people have been displaced both inside and outside Syria since the conflict began some 5 years ago. The International Monetary Fund is looking to strengthen precautionary financing instruments to counter continuing low oil and commodities prices. Speaking in the United States on Thursday, IMF Managing Director Christine Lagarde called for a stronger global financial safety net in order to limit the negative effects of the low prices and also China's slowdown. She said advanced economies should support growth through infrastructure spending and other steps. Lagarde urged emerging economies to boost non-commodity revenues and allow more flexible exchange rate policies. The IMF chief also suggested the US clearly communicate its plans to raise rates with other countries. Now, a pregnant woman in Spain has been infected with the Zika virus. Officials say the woman from Catalonia had travelled to Colombia. It's thought to be the first such case in Europe. The woman is said to be in her second trimester of pregnancy and was under medical supervision, but was described as being in good health. No word yet, though, on the condition of her unborn child. The woman was among 7 people identified as having Zika in Spain. The World Health Organization says the mosquito-borne virus has been linked to microcephaly in babies. The condition causes them to have unusually small heads and damaged brains. Now, Korea's main airport has reopened a popular cultural centre that combines tradition and technology to promote Korean culture to travellers from around the world. Kim Jeon reports.
Around 100 people, including the Minister of Culture, Sports and Tourism and the President of the Korea Cultural Heritage Foundation, gathered at Incheon International Airport to participate in the reopening ceremony of the Korea Traditional Culture Experience Center on Thursday. The center was built to promote Korean culture and offers foreign visitors a glimpse of traditional Korean handicrafts and music free of charge. The center is hard to miss, located on the 3rd floor of the airport's passenger terminal's duty-free area. I asked this young man who was decorating a hand mirror by arranging crushed bits of pearl with a toothpick what his opinion of the center was.
This is a beautiful experience to be able to do this, especially for people like me who was stuck in the airport for 4 hours. I was going to have to read or whatever. But now I can do this incredible thing. So I'm really pleased that I could be able to do this.
It took nearly a year to renovate the center because of its intricate interior design, which is shaped like a traditional fan. The ministry inaugurated the center at the airport back in 2009 and has gone through renovations so that it could better reflect the government's initiative of cultural convergence that utilizes IT devices to promote Korean culture.
By using the center's tablets, visitors can virtually experience Korean culture. For example, they can check out how they'll look if they were to wear traditional hanbok attires. I project around 1 million people will visit the new center this year, more than last year's 730,000 visitors.
15 years after opening its doors, Incheon International Airport has been recognized as one of the finest in the world for its outstanding facilities and services provided. It's also the world's second largest airport in terms of air cargo. Kim Jeon, Arirang News, Incheon.
Well, that's all we have for now on this Friday morning here in Seoul. I'm Mark Broom. Thank you as always for tuning in. We'll be back throughout the day with more newscasts. Until then, goodbye.